Discover the incredible journey, 5 heartwarming stories that will change your life forever. Clara was the embodiment of determination, a single mother streaming through a swirl of daily chaos, juggling 2 kids, a job as a waitress, and the weight of dreams not yet realized. In her small Midwestern town, every glance from a neighbor felt like judgment, every whispered word like a weight on her chest. "She'll never make it," they said. "Just another waitress chasing a silly dream." But Clara's heart beat like thunder, full of grit and hope. Her life was a delicate balancing act. Ethan, her adventurous 6-year-old, and Mia, her feisty little princess at 4, were Clara's everything. Yet they often needed her when she was overwhelmed. Her long hours at the diner stretched resources razor thin. Despite the exhaustion, the warmth in Clara's smile shone like a lighthouse through a storm, and her laughter enveloped her children, creating a sanctuary from the world's cruelty. Then, there was Jack, her retired neighbor. A veteran with a gentle soul, he stepped in whenever Clara needed help, whether it was picking up Ethan from school or babysitting on nights when she worked late. Jack believed in Clara's dream of opening her bakery, often coaxing her with stories of his own trials and triumphs. "You have it in you, Clara," he would say, his voice soothing, like a soft quilt on a winter night. But some townsfolk, particularly Mr. Harris, were relentless in their skepticism. He thrived on crushing spirits, especially those like Clara who dared to dream. Rumors swirled as he openly scoffed, "What's a waitress doing with ambitions of grandeur? Stick to what you know." Each jab felt like another brick added to her burdens. How could she dare to break the mold? Every time she passed him, the weight felt heavier, yet amid this tempest, Clara's heart soared when she learned of a national baking competition. This was her golden ticket, an opportunity to transform her dreams into reality. But it came with a catch. The weekend of the competition fell on Mia's birthday. Torn between her family duties and her deepest aspirations, Clara wrestled with an internal storm. Would chasing her dream mean abandoning her children, even for a moment? During a peak lunchtime rush, Clara overheard Mr. Harris at the counter, mocking her ambitions in front of a group of diners. Her insides twisted with indignation. No longer could she slink away under his bitter words. She weaved through the tables, her chest tight, wiping crumbs that shifted like dreams slipping through her fingers. "I am more than a waitress," she thought fiercely. "I will not let your doubts define me." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Clara focused on her baking skills, she felt warmth radiate from her neighbors. Support poured in like rain after a drought. They began sharing their stories of struggle and triumph, lifting her spirit with each tale. The small town that felt like a cage was turning into a garden, blooming with connections and encouragement. On the night of her bakery's grand opening, Clara could feel the pulsating energy of hope wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. Yet, just as she prepared to step into the spotlight of her dreams, a frantic call came through. "Mom!" Ethan fell. Her world froze. Clara stood at a precipice, dreams tangling with motherhood, eyes wide, heart pounding. Would she step forward and grab the dream, or retreat back into the safety of what she knew? Clara's heart raced as she dropped the phone, her mind swirling with frantic thoughts. Ethan fell. What did that mean? A scraped knee? A broken bone? The fear wrapped around her like an icy grip. She wanted to run, to be by his side, to cradle him in her arms and tell him everything would be all right. But what about her dream? Her friends at the diner noticed her pale face. They whispered, their eyes brimming with concern. Clara could barely look at them. "I need to go," she said, urgency in her voice. She dashed out, her breath quick and shallow. The night felt darker than it had moments ago, the air thick with worry. As she drove, thoughts collided in her mind like cars in a crash. The bakery was her sanctuary, her escape. But Ethan needed her more. He was just a boy. A sweet, adventurous boy who looked up to her. She felt a pang in her heart. What kind of mother would she be if she abandoned him? Rushing into the emergency room, she was hit with a cacophony of sounds, the beeping of machines, the muted voices of nurses. The chaos momentarily overwhelmed her. Yet, amid this storm, there was Jack, waiting by the reception. His expression was calm, an anchor in the tumult that threatened to pull her under. "Ethan's all right," he assured her, putting a firm hand on her shoulder. "He just got a little too adventurous. Scratched his knee. Nothing serious." Clara exhaled, relief washing over her like a wave crashing against the shore. Tears pricked her eyes. She had been so consumed by her fears, she nearly lost sight of the truth. "Can I see him?" she asked, almost breathless. Jack nodded, guiding her through the sterile corridors. "The doctor said he'd be fine in no time. He's a tough kid, just like his mama." As Clara entered the room, her heart melted. Ethan lay on the bed, tiny superhero bandage adorning his knee, eyes wide and glimmering with mischief. "Mom! I got a cool sticker!" he exclaimed, holding out his arm to display a cartoon character. His laughter rang like music, a balm for Clara's racing heart. She rushed to his side, wrapping him in her arms, feeling the warmth of his small body against her. "You gave me quite a scare, mister," she said, teasingly scolding him while suppressing a grin. "I'm sorry, Mom. I just wanted to see the big slide," he declared, his excitement bubbling over, untempered by the incident. In that moment, something shifted within Clara. Here was her real victory, not just over the competition or the judgment of others, but the unwavering love between a mother and her child. She realized that her dreams would still be there, waiting for her to return once she made sure that her kids were okay. After some time, once all the paperwork was done and Ethan was feeling like his old self again, they headed out to the parking lot. Clara felt solid ground beneath her feet as they walked hand in hand. Jack fell into step beside them. "Mom," Ethan said, looking up at her with those big innocent eyes, "can we still have cake for my birthday?" Clara chuckled, relief flowing through her. "Of course we can. Cake and all your favorite things." She glanced at Jack, who gave her a reassuring smile. Maybe she could still chase her dream while being there for her children. The seeds of hope took root in her heart. But as they drove home and the bakery loomed in her mind, a voice whispered in the back of her head. What if Mr. Harris's words were true? What if she failed? The storm of doubt brewed again. She could feel the tension coiling, threatening to pull her back under. Clara clenched her hands around the steering wheel, determination burning within her. Tomorrow, she would face the world again. The bakery, the competition, and the townsfolk who doubted her. But first, she needed to give her children a birthday they wouldn't forget. And then, a new challenge awaited. As she parked the car and turned off the engine, a figure approached them from the shadows, a face from her past that could change everything. Would they bring hope or heartache? Clara's heart raced again, this time with anticipation. What could this unexpected visitor mean for her dreams? Clara stepped out of the car, her heart pounding in her chest as she caught a glimpse of the approaching figure. Shadows danced in the dim light of the parking lot, but there was no mistaking the familiar outline. It was Sarah, her childhood best friend, the one who had moved away all those years ago. Clara's breath caught in her throat. "Sarah," she called, unsure if she wanted to believe it was really her. The woman stepped closer, her smile brightening the night. "Clara. I can't believe it's you." Sarah's arms opened wide, and Clara instinctively stepped forward to embrace her, a rush of nostalgia flooding back. What are you doing here?" Clara stammered, her mind racing with questions. "I came back to visit my family, and I needed to see you." Sarah explained, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I heard about your bakery. I read your story in the town newsletter. You're so brave for starting your own business. Clara felt a well of pride mixed with discomfort. Thank you, but it hasn't been easy. I mean, with everything going on, life is always messy, isn't it? Sarah replied, her expression turning serious. But I know how passionate you are about baking. I've missed that passion. Remember when we used to dream about running a bakery together? Tears brimmed Clara's eyes as warmth spread through her chest. Those days felt like a lifetime ago amidst the chaos of her current life. I've thought about those dreams often, Clara confessed, her voice a whisper. As they chatted, Ethan pulled at Clara's sleeve, butting into the conversation. Are you going to stay, Miss Sarah? He asked, innocence shining through his bright eyes. Sarah knelt to his level. That's the plan, buddy. I hope to make this place home again. And, hey, I'd love to help you celebrate your birthday. Cake and all, just like your mom promised. Ethan beamed with a childlike enthusiasm, completely taken by Sarah's charm. Clara's heart warmed as she noticed the bond forming between them. But a pit of worry still lurked inside her. Would Sarah's presence become a blessing or a distraction? With the reunion rekindling her passion, Clara suddenly felt an infusion of hope. Maybe Sarah would be the encouragement she needed. We can talk about the bakery tomorrow, she said with newfound determination. I have a big competition coming up, and I could use your expertise. Count me in. Sarah declared, her enthusiasm infectious. Together, we can work wonders. A smile crept across Clara's face. They had once dreamed big, and maybe they could again. But doubt still fluttered in the back of her mind. As they walked towards the house, Clara felt a mix of joy and apprehension. Sarah's return felt too good to be true, like the calm before the storm. The world was still waiting for her to step up and face the bakery dreams she had put on hold. Underneath the glow of the porch light, Clara turned to Sarah, her voice heavy with uncertainty. What if I fail again? What if I let everyone down including you? Sarah took her hands, a reassuring strength in her grip. How about we take that risk together? The warmth of that promise felt like a lifeline, yet uncertainty lingered. Could they really chase those dreams together after all this time? Clara took a deep breath, her heart swelling with a mix of courage and fear. The dawn of a new chapter loomed ahead, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something crucial was about to unfold. What if, after all those years of waiting, Clara was finally one step closer to making her dreams a reality? Clara couldn't help but smile as Sarah walked beside her, their old connection rekindling with every shared laugh and the sound of familiar stories. Ethan sprinted ahead, his laughter echoing through the night as he dashed into the house. Clara felt a swell of warmth, but still, she wrestled with an unsettling feeling in the pit of her stomach. Inside, the atmosphere was cozy, filled with the comforting scent of vanilla and cinnamon from the batch of cookies she had baked earlier. Clara directed Sarah towards the small dining table, now adorned with flower, rolling pins, and a colorful array of sprinkles. This is where the magic happens, she said, gesturing proudly. I love it. Sarah exclaimed, her eyes wide as she inspected the space. Clara's heart fluttered. Maybe Sarah's enthusiasm might inspire a light in her that had been dimmed over time. So, what is the competition? Sarah asked, leaning in closer as Clara took a seat across from her. There was a glimmer in her eyes that made Clara feel like they were girls again, dreaming big. Clara hesitated, the weight of her worries pressing down on her. It's this baking contest happening downtown. The winner gets a feature in a local magazine and a chance to showcase their bakery to a wider audience. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. And you're nervous? More than you know. Clara sighed, drawing her fingers through her hair. I can't afford to fail again. I've spent so many late nights pouring my heart into this, and I feel like I'm so close, yet so far. What if it all crumbles? Hey, Sarah said softly, reaching across the table to hold Clara's hand firmly. Do you remember the last race we ran together? You pushed through even when your legs felt like jelly. You didn't give up then, so why would you now? Clara chuckled lightly, the memory rushing back. I fell flat on my face. Wasn't my best moment. Sure, but you bounced right back up. You always do. Sarah squeezed her hand and then released it, straightening up as if she was on a mission. Together, we're going to make that cake. Let us give it our all, sweat, tears, and all. You've got this, Clara. Her words struck a chord, igniting a flicker of hope inside Clara. But doubt continued to linger. Could she really embrace that spirit again? Thinking back to Sarah's principles made her heart flutter. Just then, Ethan burst back into the room, proudly bringing a handful of his colorful toys. Look, Mom. I'm going to help with the decorations for the cake. Clara laughed, watching as Sarah sank to her knees, a welcoming smile on her face. Awesome. Can I be your assistant? Ethan nodded vigorously, dragging both women into his world of imaginative play. As they began chatting excitedly about cake designs and flavors, Clara found herself laughing along, the tension lightening. But it still wasn't enough to silence her inner voice that whispered fears of inadequacy. Later that night, Clara lay awake, staring at the ceiling as shadows flickered from the streetlight outside. Sarah's promise itself was a good anchor, but the promise of hope often came hand in hand with the risk of disappointment. Shouldn't she have felt more ready? The stakes were too high. Clara's thoughts spiraled, tangled in her longing for approval, and the fear of failing once more clawed at her heart. She turned to the side, catching a glimpse of Sarah softly snoring on the couch. What if this friendship brought more than just rekindling dreams? What if it reignited old wounds? Doubt and excitement warred in her heart as she drifted into a restless sleep, imagining the competition and the sheer possibility of victory. Would tomorrow's baking session lift her fears or bring them to light? The remaining night felt loaded with possibilities, as Clara realized much like baking, life needed a blend of risks and rewards. What if Sarah's relentless energy prompted Clara to chase her dreams more fiercely than ever before? Yet uncertainty loomed large. She could rise to sweet success or face another bitter defeat. Would she be brave enough to take that gamble? The morning sun spilled into the kitchen, bathing it in a golden glow that filled Clara with a renewed sense of purpose. She could hear the soft sounds of Ethan and Sarah already stirring, their laughter spilling into her thoughts like the light piercing through the window. For the first time in what felt like ages, Clara felt a thrilling rush of anticipation, mixed with the palpable edges of anxiety. She pulled on her favorite apron, the fabric soft but stained with the marks of past baking adventures. It reminded her of the persistence that had brought her this far. As she mixed flour, sugar, and butter together, she caught the sweet scent of vanilla wafting through the kitchen. It blended seamlessly with the warmth of impending possibilities. Today would be different. Today would be a fresh start. Are we making the most amazing cake ever? Ethan's voice rang out, bright with hope as he bounded into the kitchen, his cheeks flushed with excitement. Absolutely. Clara replied, grinning down at him as she wiped her hands on the apron. Can I pick the sprinkles? He asked, his eyes wide and earnest. Only if you promise to make it a rainbow explosion, Clara teased, and Ethan nodded vigorously, already buzzing with ideas. Sarah walked in just then, stretching and yawning like a cat. Did I miss the planning session? She joked, before snatching a piece of cookie dough from the counter. Hey! That's for the cake. Clara feigned indignation, but she couldn't hold back her laughter. The kitchen suddenly felt alive, buzzing with cheerful energy, and Clara could feel her heart lifting, as if Sarah's presence alone were a secret ingredient. As they began the chaotic mix of measuring ingredients and laughing over minor spills, Clara found herself slipping into a rhythm. For each whisk of the batter, she let go of a scrap of her worry. The laughter felt like a balm to her soul, healing the places that had grown heavy with doubt. With each sweet moment, she felt a flicker of resolve igniting, but just when Clara began to believe in her own strength, a bitter thought surfaced. What if she disappointed them during the contest? What if her cake didn't rise? What if she faced another rejection? A heavy weight settled in her chest, almost drowning out the joy around her. Clara. Sarah's voice pulled her back. Focus. What can I do to help? Maybe we should try a unique flavor. Something no one expects, Clara suggested, her voice quiet, lingering on the edge of fear. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Like what? Clara hesitated. I was thinking, lavender and lemon, she murmured, still uncertain about the bold choice. The words hung in the air, vulnerable but hopeful. I love it. Sarah exclaimed, nudging Clara with her elbow. Let us do it. Imagine the surprise on their faces. At that moment, Clara felt a thrill run through her. Passion welled within her chest. Maybe she could do this. They continued mixing and measuring, infused with an undeniable energy. As Ethan decorated the cake with colorful sprinkles, Clara forged ahead with newfound determination. The confidence of childhood was returning, and it tingled in the tips of her fingers. After hours of baking, the cake finally rested in the oven. The scent of sweet lemon intertwined with hints of lavender filled the room, wrapping around them like a cozy hug. Clara looked at Sarah and Ethan, their faces beaming with excitement, and felt a warmth radiating through her, a feeling she hadn't felt in so long. All right, team. I think we just might have something special. As they cleaned up, Clara felt the day beginning to transform her. It was more than just baking, it was about rekindling connections, exploring new paths, and taking risks. But as she stood looking at the oven, the familiar tug of anxiety returned. What if all of this was still an illusion? Tomorrow would be a pivotal moment, with everything at stake. Would she have the courage to shine, or would the weight of expectation crumble her? The question lingered, heavy in the air. The excitement of the competition loomed just around the corner, but the thought of failure still gnawed at her. What was she willing to risk? Clara inhaled deeply, steadying herself. It was time to rise, but could she truly overcome her fears? Her heart raced at the thought of those moments to come. Clara sat at the kitchen table, her fingers nervously drumming against the wood. The scent of the freshly baked cake lingered in the air like a promise she hoped to keep. Ethan and Sarah were busy making decorations for their masterpiece, all the while chattering excitedly. The warmth of their laughter enveloped her, yet the shadows of doubt crept in, threatening to pull her back down. Clara! Look at this! Ethan exclaimed, holding up a handful of vibrant sprinkles. I think we need more colors. Yes. Let us make it a rainbow. Sarah joined in, animatedly tossing sprinkles into the air, creating a mini confetti storm. Clara couldn't help but laugh, the sound bubbling up from her chest. It was infectious, their enthusiasm. She felt the knot of worry in her stomach loosen, just a little. Okay, let us put the sprinkles on after the cake cools, Clara said, trying to steer them back to the task at hand. We don't want them to melt. Can I help with the frosting? Ethan asked, eyes gleaming. I'll be the best frosting master ever. Of course, budding chef. Clara beamed at him. But even as she smiled, doubt lingered like a dark cloud. What if he thought she was a failure if the cake didn't turn out right? Everything's going to be okay, Sarah said softly, giving Clara's hand a reassuring squeeze. We've worked so hard on this. No matter how it goes tomorrow, we did it together. Clara's heart warmed at Sarah's words, the familiar comfort of friendship fighting against her inner turmoil. But even surrounded by love, the fear of disappointing them weighed heavily on her. What if it's not good enough? Clara whispered, almost afraid to voice her worry. Stop it. Sarah's tone was playful but firm. You've got this. Trust yourself. And if it's not perfect, who cares? It'll still taste great because it's made with love. The words hit Clara like a soft punch in the gut. It was true. Love infused every roll of dough and sprinkle of flavor, and that mattered so much more than a simple trophy or title. The evening passed in a delightful blur, with frosting slathered over the cake's surface and sprinkles cascading down like a rainbow waterfall. The cake transformed into a vibrant spectacle, a testament to the trio's teamwork and creativity. Clara stepped back, her heart swelling with pride. "Wow, look at that!" Ethan gasped, clapping his hands in delight. "It's the best cake ever." Sarah chuckled, eyes sparkling. "I wouldn't want to be the judge that has to taste this. It looks too delicious to eat." They shared a moment of collective awe, glancing around the kitchen, basking in the excitement of what they had created. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, Clara felt a wave of calm wash over her. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't just about the competition. It was about the journey, the laughter, the mess, and the love that went into every bite. But as the trio came to a close in their preparations, a wave of anxiety washed over Clara. Tomorrow, they would face the judges. What if they didn't appreciate her unique flavors? Did the lavender even belong in a cake? Taking a deep breath, Clara felt a spark ignite deep in her chest again. Today, she had stepped up and taken risks. Tomorrow would be another chance to shine. As the kitchen darkened, Clara turned to her friends. "No matter what happens tomorrow, I want you both to know that I'm grateful for this day. It means so much to me." Her voice trembled slightly, but she held her head high. In that moment, she realized it was more than just the competition, it was the bond they shared, the adventures they embarked upon together. In the stillness of the fading day, with hope flickering in the air, Clara asked, "So, what's the plan if we do win?" But even as they laughed and tossed around ideas of cake parties and celebrations, Clara couldn't shake the unease rising within her. What if it wasn't enough? And as they dreamt big, she wondered, could she really face tomorrow and embrace her fears, or would the weight of expectation bury her once again? The morning sun poured through the kitchen window, bathing it in golden light. Clara stood at the counter, rubbing sleep from her eyes. The cake loomed massively on the cooling rack, decorated like a treasure, colorful sprinkles glistening, the smooth frosting catching the sun. Pride swelled in her chest, but the flicker of anxiety returned with a vengeance. "Clara!" Sarah burst into the kitchen, eyes gleaming. "Today's the big day. Are you ready?" "Yeah, sort of," Clara managed to reply, forcing a smile. The clatter of pans and the scent of breakfast filled the air, grounding her, but her mind raced ahead to the competition. She couldn't shake the thought of the judges' expressions as they tasted not just her cake but her hard work, her dreams. "Ethan's still sleeping," Sarah said, reaching for a slice of fruit. "But when he wakes up, we'll all have breakfast together. That'll help us get in the right headspace." Despite her worries, Clara couldn't help but feel a surge of warmth at the idea. They were a team, a unit forged in shared laughter and hopes. Together, they had created something beautiful. But as they sat together around the table moments later, nibbling on pancakes and sharing stories, the question loomed larger in Clara's mind. Would their creation be enough? Would it impress the judges, or was there something deeply flawed about mixing flavors like lavender with conventional cake? "Clara?" Ethan's small voice broke through. He was finally awake, his hair sticking up like a little bird's nest. "Do you think we'll win?" "Of course, we will," Sarah exclaimed, beaming at Ethan. "We made the best cake ever. Right, Clara?" Clara nodded, putting on a brave face. "Yeah, we did." But as the sun climbed higher in the sky, the shadow of self-doubt wrapped around her tighter. Was it really the best cake ever? Or just an idea that might crumble under scrutiny? With the clock ticking, they packed everything into a box, a kaleidoscope of colors and textures, the cake nestled safely inside. On their way to the competition, Clara's heart raced. Each step felt heavier, and the joy she had felt last night began to dwindle, replaced by the gnawing sensation of fear. What if her instincts had led her astray? As they arrived, the vibrant hubbub of contestants bubbled around them. Laughter mixed with clattering utensils and excited chatter painted the scene like a vivid mural. But then came the anxious voices of the judges, sharp, professional. They walked among the tables with poise, inspecting creations of all sorts. Clara's heart thudded in her chest, each beat reminding her of the risks she had taken. "Stay calm," Sarah whispered, squeezing Clara's hand. "No matter the outcome, we did this together. Remember that." Clara glanced at her cake again, the sprinkles sparkling like tiny stars. Her heart softened as she recalled the laughter, the creativity, and the love that had built this moment. It wasn't just about winning, it was also about stepping out of her comfort zone, but as she steadied her breath, she overheard one of the judges commenting about flavors. "I just don't think bold flavors belong in a classic cake." The pit in Clara's stomach twisted like a knife. Would they really dismiss her creation without grace? Her hands trembled at the thought of rejection. "Clara, it's nearly our turn to present." Ethan jumped up, his excitement infectious and nerve-wracking at the same time. Standing there, Clara felt a surge of determination. She could do this. She wouldn't let fear define her. She called on the love that had gone into her baking and the thrill of sharing it. Perhaps it was time to let go of perfection and embrace the journey once more. As Clara stepped forward, her heart hammered in her chest. Would she dare to present her heart on a plate, ready for judgment? With one last deep breath, she smiled at her friends, knowing whatever happened next would be despite her fears, not because of them. But just before she took a step forward, she turned back to them and said, "What if they don't understand? Could they even see the love we baked into it?" And as her words hung in the air, a realization hit Clara like a wave. Was it right to measure her worth by someone else's opinion, and could she really find strength in vulnerability? Clara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. Her gaze moved from her friends to the bustling crowd, where bakers stood proudly by their creations. Each one was a reflection of countless hours spent in the kitchen, just like hers. But Clara's cake was different. It was a mosaic of flavors and memories, and right now it felt like it was teetering on the edge of judgment. "Clara, focus." Sarah's voice broke through her swirling thoughts. "You've got this. Remember, it's about sharing your love for baking." Clara nodded, closing her eyes for a brief second. Sure, the judges were professionals, but they were also human. If Clara could bring a piece of her happiness to the table, maybe they would taste that love hidden in the layers. Maybe they would see beyond the lavender flavor into the heart of her creation. With newfound resolve, Clara stepped forward. The judges were intimidating, but their expressions were calm as they began their rounds at the competition. They stopped at a table adorned with perfectly aligned cupcakes, another with mesmerizing chocolate fountains. It seemed like a dream world, full of sweet potential. But as Clara's turn approached, her heart raced even faster. "Next." The head judge called, clipboard in hand. Clara's body went numb, and for a brief moment, she wanted nothing more than to vanish into thin air. But then she caught Ethan's wide-eyed expression. He was cheering her on silently, a small beacon of hope signaling her to push through the fear. "Hello," she began, voice shaky but resolute. "My name is Clara. Today, I'm proud to present my cake, inspired by my family and the moments we share." She glanced back at Sarah and Ethan, who both beamed with encouragement. "I used lavender for a twist on our family's traditional vanilla cake. It's different, yes, but like my family, it's also layered in complexity and joy." She reached for the box and lifted the lid, revealing the vibrant cake nestled inside. The judges leaned closer, their eyes narrowing with curiosity. Clara's heart pounded dangerously, fueled by both fear and excitement. "Let's see," one judge murmured as he carefully cut a slice, the fluffy interior revealing its delicate color. He brought it to his mouth, and Clara held her breath, praying that they could taste what she had poured into it. A moment passed like an eternity, and finally, the judge's eyebrows raised slightly. "Interesting," he said, slightly surprised but intrigued. Clara's heart fluttered at the word. Sarah nudged Clara. "That's good. Let us hope," Clara whispered, fighting to keep her composure. The second judge took a bite, immediately offering a thoughtful nod. "It's bold, but you know, it has a captivating twist." I can appreciate the risk you took. With each comment, Clara felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Maybe she wasn't just presenting a cake, she was sharing a part of herself. But just as she began to let her guard down, the head judge turned to her, an eyebrow raised. However, we must ask, what made you choose such a daring flavor? The question lingered painfully in the air, and Clara's heart sank momentarily. Should she explain how lavender had been a staple in her grandmother's garden? How it embodied family dinners spent laughing over desserts? Would that make a difference? Or would they see it as a mere gimmick? Clara stammered, suddenly aware of the growing silence around her. I wanted to create something unique because I believe cooking should reflect our experiences. Lavender represents those moments of warmth and family for me. It's about more than taste, it's about connection and memory. Clara looked into the eyes of the judges, searching for understanding. Would they see the soul behind the ingredients? She could feel the tension materializing like a thick fog, wrapping around them. Would they be ready to embrace her truth? And just then, the head judge scribbled something down, leaving Clara with a mix of dread and hope drumming against her chest. Had she said too much, too little? Was she too vulnerable or just right? As she awaited their final verdict, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had already taken a significant leap of faith, a risk that was worth more than a mere competition. But as she turned back to Sarah and Ethan, she realized, no matter the outcome today, this journey of discovery was only just beginning. What would happen when she learned to embrace vulnerability and find strength in it? Clara's heart raced as the judges murmured amongst themselves. She held her breath, each passing second feeling like a lifetime. The scent of lavender wafted around her, mixing with the sugary sweetness of the other entries, and suddenly she was overwhelmed with memories of her childhood. Days spent in her grandmother's kitchen, the laughter, the flower clouds, and the gentle way her grandmother introduced her to each ingredient. It was more than a cake, it was lineage. Clara, the head judge finally said, breaking the silence like a crack of thunder. You've taken a significant risk with your flavor. People can be hesitant about lavender. She felt her stomach drop. This was at the point of no return. Clara nodded, bravely meeting his gaze. I understand, she replied, her voice steadier now. But to me, it's more than just a gamble. It's about capturing a feeling. I wanted to share my family's love of baking and our connection to each other through food. A soft murmur among the judges sent a wave of anxious energy down her spine. Would they warm to her passion, or would they discredit her with a dismissive nod? The third judge leaned in, his eyes brightening. You know, I've never seen someone make such a personal statement with a baked good before, he said. It's admirable. A flicker of hope ignited inside Clara. But then the atmosphere shifted again, tension creeping back in. The head judge shuffled his papers, which seemed to signal discomfort or perhaps indecision. May I ask, he continued, how opening up like this affects you personally? Sharing something so precious can leave you feeling quite vulnerable. A wave of emotion washed over Clara, feeling like an open book. The guarded walls she built to shield herself were swaying. Honestly, it terrifies me. She openly admitted, feeling the warmth of her friend's encouragement beside her. But I think that's part of what makes it authentic. Each flavor in this cake tells a story I'm proud to share, despite the fear. The judges exchanged glances, and Clara's heart swelled with a mix of anxiety and pride. Had she really dug deep enough to touch them? Would they see the value of connection? After what felt like an eternity, the head judge looked up, his expression inscrutable. You have done something many fail to achieve. You've combined skill with emotion. Her heart lifted. Thank you, Clara whispered, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. There's just one thing, he trailed off, pausing to make sure all eyes were on him. We would like you to step outside in a moment. Clara's heart sank again. Was this the moment of reckoning? Did they want to send her home, or had they seen enough potential in her talent to bring her forward? I'll be right here, Sarah whispered, gripping Clara's arm tightly, grounding her in uncertainty. As Clara stepped out of the judging room, the bright afternoon sun greeted her, but it did little to warm the cold knot in her stomach. She paced slowly, her thoughts racing. Had she revealed too much? What if they dismissed her for being too emotional? Moments later, Sarah and Ethan joined her, both sporting encouraging grins, but Clara couldn't shake the restlessness in her heart. Then, the door creaked open, and the head judge reappeared, flanked by his colleagues. "Clara," he began, "we want you to know that whatever happens next, you've already shown us you have the heart of a true baker. Never forget that." The words hung in the air, filled with a charged promise, leaving Clara teetering on the precipice between fear and hope. Will they let me stay? Will I get a chance to show them more? The thoughts swirled like autumn leaves in a brisk wind, clashing chaotically. Suddenly, the judge raised a finger. "Let us talk about your next steps." Clara's breath hitched. What lay ahead could either elevate her journey or take it in an unexpected direction. Would she embrace this opportunity, or would fear eclipse her moment? Clara stood on the threshold of possibility, her heart pounding as the head judge spoke. "We believe we've discovered a unique voice in your baking, a sense of connection and story that many overlook," he began, and hope soared within her. "Therefore," he continued, "we want to invite you to the next round of the competition, where you'll have the chance to develop your concept further and showcase your skills in an upcoming online segment." Clara's breath hitched. "Really? I can." The judge nodded, a glimmer of encouragement in his eyes. "But the key is to stay true to yourself, to keep expressing your story through your flavors." Tears brimmed in Clara's eyes, mixing with sweet relief. "Thank you. I promise to keep that at heart." Her voice trembled as she felt the weight of her doubts begin to crumble. As she exited the judging room, Sarah and Ethan rushed toward her, their faces alive with excitement. "Did you make it?" Ethan shouted, his eyes wide with anticipation. "Yes. I did," Clara exclaimed, laughter bubbling from deep within her. In their embrace, she could feel that familiar warmth, the bond she had fought so hard to cherish. There was a blend of triumph and joy soaring in her heart. "See? I told you. I knew they'd see how special you are." Sarah cheered, and they jumped around in a circle, excitement spilling over like the batter they had mixed together just the day before. "I couldn't have done this without you both. You're my team." Clara wrapped her children in her arms, the trio's laughter ringing through the venue like music. For once, Clara felt free, like she had finally taken hold of her dreams after so long spent in doubt. But even amid this victory, her mind spiraled back to her fears. Would Mr. Harris still doubt her? Would others in the town embrace her newfound success? "Mom, can we celebrate?" Ethan tugged at her sleeve, still radiating joy. "With cake and ice cream?" Clara's heart swelled at his innocence. "Of course. We will celebrate today, and tomorrow, too. And maybe even the day after that." As they made their way back home, they decided to pick up pizza, something the kids adored. The sun dipped low in the sky, painting the horizon with hues of pink and gold, like a sign of hope illuminating their path. Once home, they gathered around the kitchen table piled with freshly made pizza, the atmosphere buzzing with energy. Clara felt an overwhelming gratitude flood through her as she watched Ethan chatter about race cars and superheroes, while Sarah chimed in. They had built something remarkable together. "Hey, what if you offered baking classes with Sarah?" Ethan suggested, eyes twinkling as he shoveled food into his mouth. "Everyone could learn to make cakes like yours." Clara chuckled, thinking back to Sarah's infectious enthusiasm. "That's a fantastic idea. And maybe we can include a story with each recipe." "Definitely." Sarah agreed, her voice bubbling with excitement. There is something magical about sharing a recipe and the memories that come with it. "Clara, this is just the beginning." As Clara leaned back, surrounded by the whirlwind of laughter and ideas, something shifted within her. She was standing on solid ground, supported by her children, by Sarah, and by the dreams she had barely dared to hold on to. The doubts from her past began to fade into a distant echo. Clara realized she was no longer just a waitress with a dream, she was an inspiration, a storyteller through her baking. Perhaps the biggest transformation was not just in her skills as a baker but in her heart, a heart now bold enough to chase dreams, vulnerable enough to share them, and resilient enough to embrace whatever lay ahead. With renewed conviction, Clara declared, "Tomorrow's going to be the first chapter in an exciting new story for us. We'll do it together." That night, as she tucked the kids into bed, Clara felt at peace. She was no longer afraid of failure. She was filled with a vision of what could be a bakery that wasn't just about treats, but about love, connection, and stories shared. Echoing through each bite, Clara closed her eyes, ready to dream of possibilities. Tomorrow awaited her, and she was ready to embrace the adventure ahead. This is not just her victory, it's the dawn of something spectacular. If you felt inspired by Clara's journey or found yourself cheering her on, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share the love of transformation. Comment your feelings about Clara's story and how it touched your heart. And don't wait not even one more second to hit that share button. Send this video to at least 5 friends who need to hear this transformation, because true fans understand the power of support.